We are shifting our focus to the Marco Rubio meeting with the Prime Minister. So we are getting update that the meeting lasted for over an hour, and when it comes to the crucial talks, they ran over an hour. The crucial talks reportedly have concluded. The Marco Rubio Prime Minister Modi meet has wrapped up. Is this a reset when it comes to the Indo-US relationship? The lengthy talks were held, and what we expect obviously is very important issues for trade, etc. Being taken up in this meeting, being discussed in this particular meeting. We have obviously Srinjoy joining us live on the broadcast. Srinjoy, give us all the details for us. This all crucial meet is concerned. Obviously, all eyes were on this meeting. Prime Minister Modi meeting Marco Rubio.
Yes, undoubtedly. And when this meeting takes place, this meeting would also have been about a message that President Trump would have sent to Prime Minister Modi. And Secretary Rubio would be conveying it to the Prime Minister directly. That's usually what happens during these high-level meetings. President Trump, in this case, would have had something to convey to Prime Minister. Also, importantly, it must be remembered that the summit, the Quad summit, is coming up. It should have happened last year, but it didn't. And we know the kind of strained ties that America and India had at that time about tariffs and Sindoor and so on. But now it is entirely possible that President Trump will be here either very late in the year or perhaps early next year for the Quad summit, which means that after the foreign ministers' meeting of the Quad, you will have President Trump, the Prime Ministers of Australia and Japan here in India to meet Prime Minister Modi. And that will be a very important meeting, a particularly important meeting, long awaited. And it's entirely possible that after this foreign ministers meeting of the Quad, this issue will come up. And again, a visit by the President of the United States, that is expected, and that something about that could have been conveyed by Marco Rubio, the Secretary Rubio, to Prime Minister during this 1 hour of conversation. Of course, other things would have come up, whether it's Iran, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, whether it's tariffs, whether it's economic issues, whether it's the FTA, all of that would, of course, come up.
Absolutely. And, talking about the key discussions, possibly what could have been discussed, all crucial meeting, as you were telling us, Quad, trade, tariff, all of that likely to be on the agenda, isn't it, Srinjoy? If you could elaborate on that some more.
Yes. Defense would have been another issue. Now, there are two issues here as far as defense is concerned. One, of course, is the purchase directly of weapon systems from the United States. Now, the Americans are selling the MQ-9 to India, 31 of them, and that's a $4 billion deal. That's already done, and those MQ-9s should be in India in about a year and a half to begin with. Then, of course, 15 go to the Navy, 8 and 8 to the Army and Air Force, respectively. Then the U.S. wants India to pick up the Striker. While that is not happening, the Indian armed forces have already looked at the Javelin, and small but significant amounts have been purchased. But India is very keen on joint development, joint design, joint development, and joint manufacture. Now, this is not an area where the Americans have reached. Perhaps this is something that can go ahead in the future. That's, of course, one of those issues. But, of course, the FTA is absolutely important. And it should be done within weeks, maybe months, is what Sergio Gore, the U.S. ambassador to India, has said very recently. Now, Gore also said that these things take time. The FTA between Europe, the EU, and India took 19 years. This can happen in weeks and months, maybe 19 weeks. So that's another thing that is very important for India. So all of these issues are very, very significant. When a U.S. Secretary of State comes and calls on the Prime Minister of India and has a 1-hour meeting, it only suggests that there is a lot that was on the table and a lot that has to be done. Also, other areas that are not talked about so much, like space, for instance. An Indian astronaut was involved with an U.S. space effort, Shubhangshu Shukla. Now, closer ties in space is also possible, and in the scientific areas, and back silica, of course. So the relationship with India and America is not just about one or two things like trade and defense. It's a wide-ranging relationship. So as a result, you would have expected a conversation on a wide variety of subjects.
Absolutely. And, talking about really the reasons as to why the visit matters, why it's so very significant, viewers, we're going to be talk about that. But obviously, right now, the focus are these visuals. Pathikrit Payne also on the phone line with us. Sir, that all important, crucial meet between Marco Rubio and Prime Minister Modi concluding. We have the visuals from that closed door meeting as well. Help us understand why this visit is so very significant, and obviously the significance of Marco Rubio Prime Minister Modi meet.
Visit the Secretary of State of United States is always a very important visit. But one thing which is significant this time is also you don't see much hype around. There is not much public anticipation. There's not much of expectation of people at large. However, purely from the perspective of brass tacks, there are very serious issues to discuss. And I'm sure those serious issues have been taken into consideration during the closed door meeting, starting from the supply chain challenges that India is facing because of the Middle Eastern conflict and the resultant outcome of it in the future. United States being more willing to sell more oil or energy to India. However, India does not want to lose its entire strategic autonomy, and even though India will procure more oil from United States if the need be, but without losing its own strategic autonomy. There would be more pressure, more demand from the Americans to have the trade deal in place, which India is very clear that it will not compromise on certain areas when it comes to agriculture. And of course, there might be more push from the Americans to, buy more, or sell more defense products to India. While India might take some of the low-hanging, defense deals, it may go through them. But on
and what was discussed? We have the first post which has come from the Prime Minister himself. He's spoken about the discussion, the meeting, this all crucial power huddle in the national capital. Pratik, thank you for joining us. What did the Prime Minister say, viewers? We have this post by the Prime Minister. He says, and I'm quoting the PM verbatim, happy to receive the U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio. We discussed sustained progress in the Indo-U.S. comprehensive global strategic partnership and also issues related to regional and global peace and security. India and United States will continue to work closely for the global good. So that is a post coming in from the side of the Prime Minister, where he has also put out pictures of his meeting with Marco Rubio there, the handshake, the smiles, all of that really, it really shows how it's the visit itself is a big boost to the bilateral ties between the two countries. We have Manju Seth, former diplomat, joining us on the phone line. Afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. What will you say? Marco Rubio meeting the Prime Minister, that all crucial meeting concluding, lasting for over an hour. The Prime Minister says that the global strategic partnership, issues related to regional and global peace and security discussed.
Absolutely. It's an important visit given the recent turbulence, should I say, in the relationship and in the geopolitical sphere. Overall, there has been complete unpredictability. So I think in that context, this visit of Marco Rubio is significant. It is also a clear indication that the U.S. does, understand and does realize that its relationship with India is important for it as well as for in the Quad region, and I think also for energy security or the energy sales, let me put it, from the U.S., from Venezuela that they have been promoting. So overall, and of course, the strategic partnership is important, remains important, and there's a lot of continuing projects and cooperation which is ongoing across the board. So it is a very important strategic relationship. And this visit and the call on the Prime Minister, I think, is reinforcing and resetting the ties that had met some kind of turbulence, as I said, and had run into some turbulence. And now I think the way forward, it looks like things will be better, and the relationship will be back to its original, not original, but to a good, with good progress and good, ties strengthening in the foreseeable future.
Absolutely, and Srinjoy, my colleague, also live with us. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. What would you say, Srinjoy, about this post by the Prime Minister? Very significant points. If you look at this entire post, he not only talks about the Indo-US bilateral relations, just to read out what the PM said, issues related to regional peace, security discussed. The two nations will continue working together. So obviously the global turbulence, and also given the turbulence in the relations between India and US, all of those obviously significantly featuring in this particular conversation.
Regional peace and security would also refer to Iran.
Yes.
Because this is generally part of this area. And the fact that there is so much tension in the region, the fact that it has led to the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, the fact that it has led to serious problems for India vis-a-vis petroleum, vis-a-vis crude oil, and also natural gas could be issues that would have been discussed, and it is something maybe the Prime Minister is referring to. Also, the fact that at this point, Prime Minister is aware that President Trump himself has just back from China. And again, that would be an issue that could have come up during the discussions, because while the Americans have been pivoting, as they have said, towards the Indo-Pacific, the fact that they have looked at Iran over this period of time has taken things a little differently.
Well, absolutely, very, very significant, all the updates which are coming in. The Prime Minister highlighting once again the strategic importance of the relations with the US, saying both countries will continue to work together. Talks obviously happening in the backdrop of the Gulf War. So the global tensions, the bilateral relations obviously between India and US, all of those likely featuring in this all crucial meet, the meet lasting over 1 hour. Enjoy. Thank you for joining us with all these updates. We're slipping into a short commercial break. News and updates on the other side, please.